All right, let's dive into one of the internet's most wonderfully bizarre linguistic puzzles. This is a story about how a simple phrase can get so twisted that it becomes a complete mystery.
So, it all starts with this question right here. And hey, if you've never heard of Poggled needles before, don't worry, you are definitely not alone. It's a phrase that basically appeared out of thin air and just left everyone who heard it completely baffled.
And this is where it all began. This little piece of dialogue is pretty much patient zero for our entire investigation. You've got one person saying something and the other person hearing, well, pubbled eagles and poggled needles. So to solve this, we've got to go right back to the source.
Okay, so our first step in unpacking this truly strange phrase is to explore the chaotic conversation it came from. Because, sometimes to understand nonsense, you really have to embrace the chaos.
Our investigation takes us to a vlog, filmed during a walk around a place called Welshpool. And let me tell you, the conversation is less of a straight line and more of a surreal, free-flowing river of consciousness, which, of course, is the perfect environment for a mishearing to happen. For example,
to give you a taste of the atmosphere, just consider this suggestion, a jam and broccoli cream sandwich. I mean, this is not your typical lunchtime chat, right? The whole conversation is just peppered with these kinds of odd, almost dreamlike questions about food.
And it doesn't stop there. Oh no, the questions just get weirder. Would you eat a hairy masala from carrot? The focus here isn't on getting a real answer, it's all about the playful absurdity of the question itself.
And then you've got this culinary gem, eating lasagna in batter. So, look, in a world where jam and broccoli sandwiches are on the menu, is it really any wonder that a simple phrase could get completely and totally scrambled?
Now here's the kicker. What's really interesting about all this is that the term poggled needles was never actually said, not once. It was a complete misinterpretation. The real mystery isn't what poggled needles are, it's what on earth was actually said that could possibly sound like it. After all that chaos, all the bizarre food questions, and that surreal dialogue, the key to this entire thing is, believe it or not, surprisingly simple. It all just boils down to two little words.
And there it is, proper wiggles. Not poggled needles or pubbled eagles. This is just a perfect example of how our brains, when they're faced with unexpected sounds, try to fill in the blanks, and a lot of the time they fill them in with complete nonsense.
But hey, solving one mystery just opens up another one. Okay, so if the phrase was proper wiggles, what does that actually mean? Well, as it turns out, this phrase is surprisingly versatile.
So to really understand what proper wiggles means, we need to break it down. We're going to look at 4 completely different contexts where this phrase makes perfect sense, from fitness all the way to pop culture.
First, the basics. A wiggle is just a quick side-to-side movement, pretty simple. But adding the word proper just means you're doing that wiggle correctly, or with real effort, all depending on the situation. The crucial point here is that context is absolutely everything.
okay, so in the world of fitness, especially in Pilates, the wiggle is a specific core exercise. So a proper wiggle here just means doing the move with perfect form, engaging your abs and obliques exactly the way you're supposed to.
Then you've got the context of informal British slang. You may have heard the phrase get a wiggle on, which is just a fun way to say hurry up. In that sense, giving something a proper wiggle could just mean getting a really quick and efficient start on it.
And then there's the pop culture angle. The Wiggles, right? They're that famous Australian kids music group. So for a fan, doing a proper wiggle means you are absolutely nailing the dance moves to their songs, just like you see on TV.
Finally, we even use the phrase to describe our pets. For a dog, a wiggle communicates a ton of emotion. A proper wiggle isn't just a tail wag. No, it's that full-body, uncontrollably happy wiggle that shows they are genuinely, absolutely thrilled to see you.
So, we went from a completely nonsensical phrase born from absolute chaos to a surprisingly clear and multifaceted term. It's just a perfect example of the weird and wonderful ways our language works.
You know, the big takeaway here is how fragile communication can really be. All it takes is a moment of inattention, or a really weird context, to turn proper wiggles into poggled needles. It's a hilarious reminder that listening is just as important as speaking, and context, well, context truly is king.
And that brings us to the end of this little explainer. It really makes you think, doesn't it? What's the most bizarre thing you've ever misheard someone say? I'm willing to bet the answers are probably just as strange and funny as this one.